All right, the seventh round pick is in, which is the last pick for the Miami Dolphins in the 2023 NFL draft. And for those fans that, you know what, you wanted an offensive lineman at some point in time, you got your wish, albeit in the seventh round. But the Dolphins did select an offensive lineman out of Michigan, Ryan Hayes, once again, just like the sixth rounder that we had there with Elijah Higgins, a guy that I didn't personally have any research on, so had to do some homework prior to today's video. But if you look at this guy, a tall tackle, not the big world's biggest guy, like in regards to size, weight. He's only 298, but he is 6'6". So he's got the height, he's got the athleticism. His family is athletes. His dad played, his mom played, his brother played. They all played like collegiate sports based on the research that I was doing. The other nice thing I say, because we're talking about sixth, seventh round draft picks at this point in time, there's likely going to be more negatives brought up than positives. But if you want to look at a positive, one of the things that jumps out right away, you're talking about a 2-year starter at left tackle at Michigan, one of the nation's best programs, playing against stiff competition in the Big Ten, and one of the best offensive lines that we saw in college football over the course of those 2 years. So that is very good to see. But like I said, a taller guy, he's got good technique, he's got strong hands, but he doesn't have that ideal length, that ideal arm length that you look for from a tackle at the next level. So he plays a little bit high as well because of that size. And where does that come back to haunt you? Well, that hurts a little bit when you're going against these bull rushers. And if you're up all that high and they push you back, that inability for him to anchor and recover can come back to haunt him sometimes. And the other thing where he can get caught playing a bit too high, those speed edge rushers coming along that edge, he doesn't have the world's longest arms. He doesn't bend quite as well with the knees waist combination. So that can kind of come back to haunt him as well. The one other nice thing that I saw, though, is I read some scouts saying he plays with that aggression. He plays with that nastiness. And that's what you want to see from offensive linemen. You don't want these timid Jonathan Martins of the world. You need a guy with nastiness, with that dog in him to go into those trenches, play in and play out, and be able to compete at a high level against some of the best athletes of the world. And like I said, based on some of the other things we've read about him, the not as positive things, he's going to need all that fight in order to compete at the next level. I saw one scout that had labeled him as functional when it comes to run blocking and pass blocking, which isn't bad, but it's also not the world's most glowing term, saying he can get the job done run blocking and he can get the job done pass blocking, but it's not that he excels in one over the other. And I also saw numerous scouts say because of those shorter arms, he's likely at the next level going to get pushed inside to guard. Playing out on tackle, playing on an island, doesn't have the length to be able to play with that kind of space. If you can move him into guard, not make him worry about playing with so much space, playing on an island so much, if he has a chance, it's probably at guard at the next level. So if you look at the Dolphins' remainder of the offseason, I mean, they'll probably do some cross training, get him some work at tackle, get him some work at guard, and kind of just see where he does like there in both of those situations. But much like I said about Elijah Higgins, we got to have our expectations kind of tempered. Sixth, seventh round players. We're not talking about guys that are going to be jumping in and making immediate impacts or starting from day one, especially at offensive line. The plug and play guys in the offensive line are gone on day one. Though that's designated for your first rounders, a handful of second rounders as well. But at the end of the day, we still need depth at this position. So even if we're not talking starter quality right now at this point in time, but we need depth at this position. Our offensive line was tested over and over and over again last year due to injuries. And we were signing people, it seemed like every other week for a while there mid-season. So yeah, even if we're not bringing in guys that are going to compete for Liam Eichenberg's job through the draft here or Austin Jackson's job, we still need depth. So at least we got a new guy, new blood, new guy to the position that we can bring in and compete through camp. And I do think the Dolphins still add to this position throughout free agency. I've been talking about in the comments of the other NFL draft videos that I did. We're not done at that position. There's probably some veterans that are looking how the draft plays out for teams and then making their decisions as to where they want to go. And with the Dolphins only really selecting Ryan Hayes to play offensive line in the seventh round, the Miami Dolphins is probably a fairly attractive place for some of these veteran free agents to end up. But that's what I have got for Hayes. Like I said in previous videos, thanks for everyone that's been tuning in throughout the draft coverage. If you missed any of the other NFL draft selections that we had, they're probably up in the corners as I'm speaking right now. Go ahead and check those out. I will be back. We'll have updates on undrafted free agents that we're going to be signing. And then we'll be doing like a draft grades, for lack of a better term at this point in time. But that is what I've got for this. Hope you enjoyed the NFL draft. And until next time, Dolphins fans, fins up.